Well, welcome back to Niners Nightly on the Sports Leader, KMBR. And Bob Wischusen, the voice of the New York Jets, joins us to help preview the Monday night game. Bob, thanks for the time.
Absolutely.
Well, Bob, what kind of summer camp has it been for the Jets this year? I know, they didn't play Rodgers at all in the preseason. I saw they did sweep all 3 games. What kind of summer has it been?
It's been great. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has looked great. Preseason games have been, you don't want to say largely meaningless. Obviously, they've played their young guys and determined kind of the benefit of the roster that way. But all the veterans have been scratched from all the preseason games. So they've used their, controlled scrimmages with the other teams, like those dual practices that they hold. And they kind of ramped it up 11 on 11 in their own practices, but kept the quarterbacks in the red shirt.
How has the quarterback looked?
He's looked great. I mean, he's running around. He looks great. I have to tell you. He looked great last year, too. And then a freak injury. So, you never know, right? I mean, he's obviously, 41 years old. So we're soon to be 41 years old. So that's a factor. But he looks really good.
How has the remade offensive line played in front of him? I know there's some new faces on that front, some veteran tackles that were brought in. How they looked?
I think that group really is a little bit of a mystery still until they're out there and in a real game, because none of them played in the preseason. And, as we all know, when an offensive line plays together and they develop that chemistry, they really kind of look like a chorus line, right? Like their feet all move in synchronicity with one another. They get used to the guy playing on either side of them. I think obviously the resumes speak for themselves of the guys that they brought in, but I think we're all waiting to see when those guys actually get out and play together in a real game, what they'll do. And durability is going to be a big factor as well for Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses. I mean, Tyron Smith is going to walk backwards into the Hall of Fame the minute the clock starts ticking when he retires. And Morgan Moses has been a Pro Bowler at times as well. So they're really, really good players, but they have durability issues. They haven't recently made it through full seasons. So keeping them healthy and developing that chemistry as the season goes on is going to be a big thing.
Do you expect a run-heavy game plan from Nathaniel Hackett? I mean, just because it is a group coming together, the Niners do possess a lot of rush. Rodgers hasn't played in a while. Do you think it's going to be a heavy dose of Breece Hall?
No, I think the Jets will be a very balanced offense. I mean, I think they're going to try to keep it 50-50. Look, you have Aaron Rodgers. Breece Hall is as much a pass-catching weapon as he is a running weapon. You've got Garrett Wilson. We'll see what Mike Williams gives them. I mean, he returned to practice a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. I'm sure he'll kind of be on a pitch count, but he's an explosive player. They have a couple of shifty slot receivers that they feel good about. Alan Lazard, believe it or not, has looked really good. Chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, as you would expect in training camp. So I don't think they're thinking that this is going to be some kind of 3 yards in a cloud of dust, ground and pound offense, and once in a while throw off play action. If you have Aaron Rodgers and he's got weapons, he's going to want to push the ball down the field, and I think they will try to do that.
How's Kinlaw fit in, the former Niner? He's one of my favorite guys.
Yeah, good. I mean, they need him. They lost a couple of guys on the defensive line that were key pieces. And, even without Haason Reddick, now obviously they play completely different positions, but without Reddick, they're going to want guys to be eating more reps on the defensive line, to be eating up people on the defensive line, to free up like a Will McDonald, who was a first-round pick last year, who's going to get some of those pass rushing package opportunities that would normally have gone to a Reddick. And Kinlaw is going to be that guy. Like, he is going to be, I think, a 3-down defensive line option for them a lot. So, yeah, they're really high on him. I mean, I think they have loved what they have seen from him so far in camp.
What is the story with Reddick? I mean, I know they had Bryce Huff. He went to Philly. They traded for Reddick. I'm reading that the Jets don't want to extend him. They'd rather add money to his existing deal. He wants a restructured deal or maybe a new deal. What's the end game here? I mean, he's not going to be there Monday night. He hasn't been there all summer. Are they gonna trade him? Is Joe Douglas trying to trade him? What's his status
No.
right now?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the end game is for him, to be honest with you, because they're not trading him anytime soon, as far as I know. And apparently the agreement was, and it was a verbal agreement that he was going to come in and participate, and they would talk about some type of a deal, either extending him or certainly adding money to his deal while he was here and participating, but he hasn't participated. So they're basically like, no, we're not going to pay you more money just to come in and join us. I think they kind of like what Matthew Judon said when he went to Atlanta, right? Like, I'm not going to ask for more money before these guys even get to know me. They don't know who I am. They don't know what I'm all about. So I'm going to go there and let them get to know me before I ask to be paid. And yeah, I don't know who's in Haason Reddick's ear, and I don't pretend to know, but I can tell, based on what I've been told, that he pretty much reversed his position from what he told the Jets when the trade was made. And this was something that they asked about and investigated before they pulled the trigger on the trade, and the tune totally changed after the trade was made. So, I would worry as well. I mean, he's owed about $14 or $15 million this year. That's money he's never going to get back. And if Le'Veon Bell is kind of a test case, like Le'Veon Bell lost about that amount of money the year that he sat out with the Steelers. And then when he came back, he was a shell of the player that he was before he took the year off. He never regained being that type of a player again and never got the contract that he would have gotten had he signed even the deal the Steelers would have offered him before he took the year off. So, like, if Haason Reddick takes this entire year off and loses the $14 million that he's owed this year, and then off of a year off, thinks someone's going to pay him $25 million a year as a pass rusher, sight unseen next year, I don't know. I don't see how that happens. So, yeah, I don't know what his end game is here. I hope he kind of comes to his senses and returns to them and plays. And I hope he plays well. And if he comes back and plays really well this year, then he's going to get paid. Pass rushers get paid. So come back in and play well this year on the last year of your contract, and then you're going to hit the lottery, right? And then you're going to break the bank. But he still has a year left on his contract. Live up to that and get and play well, and then see where it goes. But that's not where this is at right now.
Well, and he'll never recoup that money, and it's kind of a sad deal. And he's a great speed rusher, but man, if you're a Jets fan, you're looking at Will McDonald, and he's a great speed rusher. And Tack McKinley had 2.5 sacks in one of the preseason games. I watched the entire preseason of the Jets last night. Wow, I mean, that's a nice rookie class. I love the kid Stiggers from the CFL. Braden McGregor looks like a try-hard defensive end. Leonard Taylor had a great camp. Braylon Allen, Fashanu, Corley, Isaiah Davis, Watts. I mean, this is a pretty impressive rookie class. Niners feel good about their rookies, but the Jets do as well, huh?
Yeah, and add to that, he's not a rookie. He's still a very young player, though. Jermaine Johnson, I think, is a guy that is probably about as ready to become a star athlete in New York City as there is for someone who's just not being talked about at all. And that also plays, I think, into the Jets' thinking. I think they already have on their roster a guy that could be in the Haason Reddick class as a pass rusher, developing already on their team. And if that's the case, that kind of strengthens their position even more. That if you put Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson out there on pass rushing downs, why should we have to give Haason Reddick another $8 or $9 million right now? And also the Jets have a handful of guys on their team that are already here that are due contracts in the near future that probably, they've already kind of earned that money as Jets. Whereas Haason Reddick kind of earned that money as an Eagle. He hasn't earned any money as a Jet. So it's a very tricky situation with him. And, they do. I think they have with their draft class this year, with a lot of young, kind of unknown defensive linemen in their rotation, guys that are already here. I think their defense is in a pretty good place, even without Reddick. If they get him back, though, and he's motivated to go out there on the walk year of his deal, and he plays really well, that should make them even better.
Bob, two last ones. What's your guess? Does Sauce travel with Ayuk, or does he stay on the left side? How do you think Salah's going to implement him?
Yeah, the Jets are not a travel team. That's not the way they play. That kind of disrupts their coverages. So I personally would not expect him to travel. They feel really good about DJ Reed on the other side as well. So, that's just the way they play defense. They kind of play sides. At least that traditionally has been what they've done. So not that it's not in their playbook to call man-to-man defense and maybe, mix it up a little bit. But the old Rex Ryan, like sending Darrelle Revis wherever the best wide receiver goes, that's not the way that this group does it.
I know it's New York City and anything, everything gets dialed up and there's pressure always, but what is the situation for Saleh? A lot of people love Robert Saleh out here. What is the situation for Joe Douglas? Is how much pressure, I guess, do they bring into this year? Two very impressive guys, but I'm sure they're under the gun a little bit.
Yeah, no more pressure than anybody else has on them in the NFL to win.
Sure.
Right? Clearly, win, right? If you don't win in the NFL, you lose your job. That's a 32-team rule. So they will feel that this year, and they've both admitted it. But there's no reason to think that if Aaron Rodgers doesn't stay healthy, that they won't win.
Yeah.
And they won 7 games last year with historically bad quarterback play. And statistically, if you look at it, they had quarterback rating last year collectively on the team in like the 20s. So there's no reason to think that if Aaron Rodgers puts up for him what is almost a below average year, it's still the best year that the Jets will have ever had in their team history at quarterback. So, and they've got a really good defense. So if they stay healthy, and that's always any team's question mark, and if he stays healthy, it should be a good team, and they should look like what the talent on the team says they should look like. And any head coach in the NFL that looks good and wins and that people celebrate, and any general manager that people are patting on the back and saying, way to go, you're a great general manager, normally they are patting those guys on the back because they're coupled with a really good quarterback. That's it. And that's how one goes with the other in this league. So, and they've got a really good quarterback, and they've invested a lot of capital to keep him upright. If they keep him upright, then they should look good.
Yeah, and that, to me, for the Niners, the key is containing Rodgers. Is there a key to win for the Jets on Monday night in your mind?
Keeping Rodgers upright,
keeping
him clean, and letting him see the field and distribute the ball to all of their weapons, because he'll make the right decisions. He'll do that, and the Jet defense normally keeps the game in touch. It's a rare team that scores 30 against this defense. So if the Jet defense can play, especially in the red zone, plays well and keeps a team 3s instead of 7s and keeps the score in the 20s, any game that's played in the 20s, the Jets are going to have a chance to win because of that quarterback.
Bob, thanks for your time. My niece is just moved into her dorms at Boston College. Is it going to be a great 4 years for her?
Well, they're already 1-0. So they're kind of carrying the uprights around up in the stadium. They were already celebrating a win. Yeah, she'll have a great time.
Bob, thanks for the time. Have a great call.
Thanks.
Bob Wischusen, the voice of the New York Jets, stopping by on Niners Nightly on the Sports Leader.